Do you ever ask yourself, why are we frequently going to war, but never declaring war? Truth is, even while in the military for a long career, I ask myself this question all the time. I don't have any definitive answers, just some suppositions and conclusions drawn after a lifetime of asking the question during and after Vietnam, Grenada, Iraq, Afghanistan, recently Venezuela, and now Iran. And my conclusion is threefold. First, because the Constitution is intentionally conflicted, and we have not effectively amended it to correct the problem. Second, because there is a natural tension between the executive and the legislative branches that reflects the natural tension between different people and factions within the United States. And finally, because the Congress, the legislative branch of the government, is simply lazy or partial or both. So let's dig into these three conclusions a little deeper. I'm not going to break them out individually. This is kind of be all lumped together, but they come up with those three conclusions. One of the things to remember when discussing the Constitution is that it was a partly, perhaps largely, remedy for the Articles of Confederation. Those articles were rapidly found to be ineffective. Simply not enough central government power and responsibility. But the anti-tyrant concerns that had hobbled the articles when drafted and approved remained a powerful concern within those fledgling United States. So the Constitution is intentionally conflicted. Now, the founders viewed the legislature as the direct representative of the people. I like that. As a result, the power to create laws, to impose taxes, and to declare war was given solely to the legislative branch as the most accountable branch to the citizens, you and me. Now, even a strident federalist, an advocate for strong executive branch power, Alexander Hamilton, agreed with this point of view. And James Madison, a strong states' rights and legislative branch advocate, wrote in Federalist Paper number 51, in Republican government, the legislative authority necessarily predominates. So, what is conflicting about that? Wars should be declared only by the Congress, right? Well, not so fast. The Constitution also gives the President, the executive branch, the power of the sword. Hamilton and Madison, in their efforts to have the new Constitution rapidly approved and enacted, aimed to convince the people that this new system was both powerful enough to defend the nation and structured enough to prevent tyranny. Hamilton, in Federalist Papers 23 and 69, argued for a government that possessed energy, the ability to act decisively in the face of threats. Now, at the time, those threats were real and right there at the borders, to the north, to the south, and internally with Indian tribes that were still quite hostile to the growing incursion of Europeans into the continent. In Federalist number 23, he argued that because the occasions of national danger are infinite, the federal government's power to raise armies, and declare war must have no constitutional shackles. He took pains to distinguish the U.S. president from the British king, who he had just rebelled and thrown out of the country, and pointed out that while the king could declare war on his own, the president is merely the commander-in-chief, with the actual power to declare war resting solely with the legislature, Congress. His argument speaks to congressional action as a check on the president. Well, where are we now? Honestly, since the attack on Pearl Harbor and the Congressional declaration just hours afterward, Congress, for a number of reasons, has been largely missing in action. For the past 85 years, presidents of both parties have used the power of the sword to take the immediate actions they have deemed were necessary to protect the country. This is pretty aligned to the constitutional imperative that in occasions of danger, the government's power must have no constitutional shackles. What has been missing is the Congress rapidly thereafter, as was done in December 1941, either declaring war or declaring that the executive must cease making war. This power is strictly a legislative power. No president or party leader or military official can either supersede or deny the Congress this responsibility. It has been neglected simply because the Congress has chosen to neglect it. And the result is that for most of 85 years, rapid action to discuss and debate whether the country should or should not pursue a war has largely and wrongly been absent. My guess is that congressional lawyers will argue that when the Congress votes to commit resources to an ongoing presidentially declared military action, it is agreeing and tacitly declaring war. That is bunk. The job of the Congress is to rapidly discuss and debate and either declare war or order the president to cease military operations. That is our voice in whether we send our troops and treasure to Iran or Venezuela or Vietnam or Iraq. And Congress have left us out of the conversation most of the time. It is messy. It is potentially divisive. But it is our voice. This, I believe. Aloha.